Hello, my name is Kerry Martel. I am the founder and CEO of Martel Brothers Studios, a YouTube MCN based out of Austin, Texas. Today I'd like to do a presentation on how to start a YouTube MCN. This is a question that has been asked of me many times, and I thought that I would just put together a little presentation that explains what YouTube MCN is and how you set one up and how you're supposed to be successful with one. So, what is a YouTube MCN? A YouTube multi-channel network, or MCN is the abbreviation, is a television network that manages a large number of YouTube channels through a YouTube CMS account. CMS stands for Content Management Suite. It's an account that is really only given out to those who have the Content ID feature. So in order to get a YouTube CMS account, you must apply for Content ID and then be accepted. Without this account, it's impossible to make a YouTube multi-channel network. Now, there are some people that have formed what's referred to as a sub-network under other companies that have a CMS account. Some of these companies are Maker Studios, Broadband TV, Fullscreen, and such. Personally, Martel Brothers Studios, we have our own CMS account. We are not a sub-network under anybody else. And we don't have any sub-networks under us as well. That's not really our model. So why would you want to form a network on YouTube? This is a question I get asked quite frequently by people who aren't educated about the space. YouTube has comparable numbers to traditional television networks. As you can see, PewDiePie has 2.1 million views in August, and the same month CBS had 5.37 million views. These are fairly comparable numbers to the big networks. So with the just uploading videos to this network, YouTube, they're able to reach audiences that take the big networks literally tens of millions of dollars worth of broadcasting equipment and personnel to reach those numbers. It's quite amazing. Secondly, YouTube gets 1 billion daily views from mobile devices, whereas television is only getting 30 million people total watching through those mobile platforms. And mobile television is really where the industry is heading. So YouTube is ahead of the game in that regard. Those are the two important reasons why you would choose YouTube. Because it's the only cost-effective solution to break into the television industry, unless you have a huge pot of money. To understand the business model behind MCNs, you really have to understand how they appeared. I've been using YouTube pretty much since it came out, so I can actually share the story with you. So back in November 2005, Smosh, Ian, and Anthony, they created their YouTube channel, and they became quite successful. They did several different skits about Pokemon and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and they became successful, and they caught the eye of Barry Blumberg, who was an ex-Disney executive. He signed them to a contract, and in August 2005, he convinced YouTube to put advertising on Smosh's channel, and they earned at least $9,000 every month from that advertising. Smosh was not the only channel, of course. There was Lonely Girl and several others as well, but it started out very small. In March 2007, or I should say by March 2007, next new networks came along, and they basically were like a talent agency. They had a stable of popular YouTube channels under them, but they weren't. I don't think the YouTube CMS accounts even existed back then. But I consider Next New Networks to be the first MCN. This idea that you would have a stable of top-tier talent YouTube channels that would network and collaborate with each other. December 2007 came around, and YouTube opened up the YouTube Partner Program that allowed everybody who was, I think you had to have at least 100,000 subscribers. Everybody basically was in that program and started being integrated with Google AdWords because Google had purchased YouTube back in 2006, I believe. January 2011 is where YouTube MCNs really come into full swing. George Strompoulos, who was the guy who He was, I can't remember his exact title, but he was the partner program director for YouTube. He decided that he wanted to get a cut of the action, and he left YouTube to create his own network, which is Fullscreen. And it really pioneered the concept of partnering thousands of channels regardless of viewership and quality, which is what the MCNs such as Machinima and Broadband TV and their various subnetworks are very well known for. May 2011, YouTube bought Next New Networks. They primarily bought them for the talent because they had them actually working with some of the top network talent at companies like Machinima, who Google had personally invested into. They started teaching them, how to more effectively use the platform. That's why Next New Networks was purchased. YouTube also implemented the grant program, where they basically gave tens of thousands of dollars worth of film equipment to top-tier talent on YouTube to help them, kickstart their careers. So that's how MCNs appeared on YouTube. And this history is basically, it explains why the model is the way that it is. It was shaped by these executives within YouTube and the film industry who got involved with the platform and started helping the young talent, such as Smosh, grow themselves in actual brands. So a lot of people are confused on why YouTube creators, if they are so successful, why they need networks. And to understand that, you really have to look at the way television has worked for the past 50 years. You look at broadcast television, it was a curated experience. Everybody sat around television, turned a knob, and there was maybe 4 or 5 stations. It was very simple and easy to use to find content. And cable TV came along, and it was still a curated experience. It was still quality shows coming out certain times of the day based on the demographics. For example, you can assume that 3 o'clock p.m., kids are getting out of school, it's probably a good time to have programming of interest to teenagers. But there was a lot more selection now because of cable box. You weren't limited to how many dials was on the television, but rather how many dials was on your cable box. There was cheaper distribution than just operating a local broadcast station in a region. Now you could broadcast to the entire nation or elsewhere in the world. It was still very simple for the consumer. YouTube came along, and we have even cheaper distribution. I can put a video onto my channel, and anybody in the world can basically watch it. And it didn't cost me anything to have the distribution. But YouTube has problems. It's really not a television. It's not a curated experience. It's a search engine. There's way too much selection, so that even if somebody knows what they want to watch, it takes them a lot of time to find a quality experience. As an example, let's say that you type sci-fi shows. You would probably not find any quality sci-fi shows at the top of the search results. Instead, you would probably find people talking about sci-fi shows. So YouTube is really not very simple for the average consumer to use. And quite honestly, it's not easy for the professional video creator to use either, because it's gotten more and more complex as the years go on. And if you're not a search engine optimization expert, you're never going to go anywhere with YouTube. So the economics, why the networks feel that how do they make money, essentially by providing that SEO knowledge and that promotion that's needed in order for a YouTube creator to break out of the ocean of content where most of it drowns. That's what YouTube search really is. The economics of why the networks are able to recruit thousands of partners and still profit is very simple. If you simply take even a 15% commission on about 1,000 channels who each earned $100 a month, that MCN earned $15,000 out of that. So it's really about math. MCNs like Machinima and Maker Studios and Fullscreen and Broadband TV and so forth, they're all about having tens of thousands of partners who each make anywhere from hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to maybe $100, but it all adds up with them taking a commission on the sales. And the cost entry of a YouTube MCN is significantly lower than any traditional medium. multi-channel network company. If you're trying to make Time Warner, you need $140 billion to do that. Cable station would be anywhere from 110 to 150 million. If you want to start a network affiliate station like a Fox affiliate, you need $2 to $20 million. If you want to just make your own YouTube clone site, you need at least $15 million. That's what the PayPal guys who started YouTube paid in development before Google bought them, $15 million. So if you want to start a YouTube multi-channel network within the YouTube ecosystem, you really only need $1 million to successfully kick that off. So it's much cheaper to enter the market. And this is something that I think a lot of people looking to make networks don't understand. You need some capital to actually be successful with this model. So anyone who's worked in television, you have to understand where your views are coming from, where your demographics are. There's the concept of the long tail, where you have most of the eyeballs are to the left, where broadcast is, and cable and satellite is more of a long tail specialty channel format, where you have things like the Sci-Fi Channel or the Discovery Network or MTV or whatnot. You really don't have that with broadcast television. YouTube is even more of a long tail, and the best way to really illustrate this is a typical YouTube search. There's cats, which is the majority people search for, and then maybe you'll have a lesser number of people who are willing to search for cats and hats. And then you have people who are searching for something super, super specific, like cats and hats with polka dot shirts. Most YouTube creators who are successful are operating somewhere between the cats and hats and the cats and hats with polka dot shirts range. They're taking advantage of search phrases that people are making in high volumes, anywhere from hundreds of thousands of searches a month to millions of searches a month. And they're dominating for those keywords in the search rankings. YouTube is really combining that concept of a website that you SEO in order to rank highly in Google search or Bing or whatever, but now doing that with a video channel by using your closed caption script, your video description, and the title of your video. Requirements for success, bearing the previous information in mind. You need a YouTube CMS account. Without access to one, you cannot start a network. You also need talent, because ultimately the talent is who's going to be building the audience. People aren't going to come to see shows that they're not interested in watching. They're not going to watch videos with people who just don't have that screen presence. You also need people that have SEO expertise. They really have to understand how Google search works and YouTube search works. Otherwise, you're not going to go anywhere. And generally, because the talent doesn't understand something as complex as SEO, that's where the networks are able to step in and provide that service and help the talent actually get seen and build an audience. You also need excellent PR coverage. It's really difficult to do traditional marketing with the amount of money that networks bring in. So free coverage is good. So being best friends with certain journalists who can give you a lot of presence in the newspapers and the blogs, that's very key. You also need to have someone understanding guerrilla marketing, because again, you don't have traditional marketing dollars to spend like Time Warner would have. You have to really spend your budget appropriately and effectively to reach the demographic that you want to build an audience from. So your critical employees are going to be talent recruiters, people who lead generation for getting people to join your network. Then you need talent managers who actually work one-on-one with your partners to build their brands and do their SEO and so forth. You need SEO experts to work with the talent managers to help them guide the decision making with the talent. You need someone who specializes in viral or guerrilla marketing, because again, that's a never-ending process for building an audience with no money. You need web developers, because at the very least you need to have an effective website for getting people to join your network or helping people find your videos. And of course you need graphic artists. There's other roles in this you should have. Of course you should have some general counsel for the legal. You should have a CFO and all that other stuff. But really, these are the critical employees that are going to make or break your company. And if you don't have them figured out, and they're not very good people, you're not going to go anywhere. The necessary tools that I believe an MCN needs to be successful is you need a mailing list. FanBridge or MailChimp are probably the best two platforms for a YouTube MCN to use. Mailing list is key because there's really no way for you to easily reach YouTube subscribers. So you really need to start funneling people toward mailing lists in order to remind them of upcoming videos. The YouTube subscription feed is very terrible. You should also have some niche websites. An example is Did You Know Gaming, which is used by, they were called The Game Station, but now they're Polaris. Maker Studios runs that site. Smosh, of course, is a good example. Smosh.com is a niche website where you can embed your videos and you can have some control over the curation experience that the consumer goes through. Just advertising your YouTube channel is not a good idea because there's the whole related videos feed on the side, and unless that's a walled garden of just your own videos, you're going to lose your eyeballs to somebody else. So it's really key that you drive traffic to your own websites and that you have your own mailing lists so that you can actually have some possession over your audience, or at least possession over the ability to reach the audience that Google doesn't have their hand in between. You also need some SEO tools. An example of a platform that provides SEO just for YouTube is Tubular Labs. Again, YouTube is a search engine, and you really have to leverage those search phrases if you're going to build an audience. You also need some platform analytics tools. Social Blade is a good site for doing some research into who your competitors might be, or just trying to figure out how large a niche could be. Like if you're interested in making product reviews about cameras, you can actually find similar channels and see how successful they have been before you invest your time into building that channel yourself. You should also have some marketing tools, and this is probably going to have to be something that you pay for your own custom YouTube API development. An example would be a form that all of your partners share their YouTube channel access information, so that when you favorite a video through your master account, everybody's channel on your network favorites that video. Some of the networks like Machinima have a tool like that. I don't know of any third party that offers a tool like that at the moment, so that's something you have to develop yourself. Finally, let's get to the 7 stages of a YouTube MCN, because there is a method to the madness. This is an observation that I've seen in pretty much every single network over the past several years. This is what everybody's been doing, and these are the stages that they've gone through. The first stage, of course, is the company's founded. Second stage is you have to recruit some talent. The third stage is to develop that talent's intellectual property into a brand. Once you've done that, you can have your Series A investment. Investors now have something to actually invest into. And the reason you get the investment is so that you can develop your in-house intellectual property, develop your own shows, so that now you don't have to rely just on your partners who may come and go from your network. You have some sort of IP you have to own yourself. Example of this is HBO. HBO started out just having other people's movies, and they started developing their own shows like Game of Thrones and whatnot. If you don't have your own IP, you're basically never going to go anywhere. Sixth stage is a Series B investment, and that's specifically so you can develop your owned and operated platform. Owned and operated is a television industry term. It's basically a television station that is not owned by a network. In the case that I'm using it, I'm talking about something like Blip. So Maker Studios has reached the 7th stage of an MCN. They purchased Blip TV so that they can now have their own owned and operated platform, and they're not beholden just to YouTube. They have something that they can charge their own, they can sell their own ad inventory basically against their own their videos. decide their own value, if you will, of their product, which is something that you don't have with YouTube. You don't decide the value of your product when you have Google selling your ad inventory for you. So this presentation should answer most of the basic questions on how to start a YouTube MCN and why someone would want to, along with some advice if you're interested in making your own MCN. Again, you have to have your own CMS account or access to somebody else's. There are networks out there that will take people on if they have a sizable market. Let's say that you have about, maybe 1,000 partners or something, or at least people that want to make a network with you that have at least 100,000 views a month or something. You could probably build a network from that, working with someone like Broadband TV or whatnot. Personally, our network doesn't really do that because I think that it's a bad business model for several reasons. First, I think that recruiting tens of thousands of people into your network with no intention to ever help them is a bad call. Just making 15% off of the top of their ad revenue. They're only making 100 something bucks a month. They're never going to grow as talent, and you're basically just taking advantage of them. I think that's wrong. Secondly, I don't think the model is sustainable. I think that YouTube is taking steps to react to that model because it's bad for their business, and it's just not going to last. So that's why we don't do that model ourselves. Anyway, I hope this video has been enlightening for you and answers the questions that you've had about a YouTube MCN. If you have any further questions, feel free to contact us through our website. I will have a link in the video description. Thank you for your time, and good luck.